He was one of the most powerful voices on the internet. Private jets, supercars, hundreds of millions of followers hanging on every word he said about power, money, and what it means to be a man. Right now, he is sitting in a concrete cell in Miami, on a bed he says is shorter than his own body, with no pillow, drinking water he claims is making him physically sick. And somehow, nobody can fully explain how messages are still getting out. That is the part that has investigators, lawyers, and the United States Bureau of Prisons in an uncomfortable position tonight, because Andrew Tate is not just in custody, he is broadcasting from inside custody. And what he is describing about the Federal Detention Center in Miami is so severe that the United States government was forced to file a written response in open court, a response that included a line nobody expected federal prosecutors to ever put on paper. They wrote that the facility is not a Marriott. Let that sink in. The government's own filing did not deny the place is rough. It argued that rough is still legal. And here's where it gets worse, because when reporters started digging into the Federal Detention Center, Miami, not Tate's claims, but the building itself, its records, its recent history, they found problems the Bureau of Prisons has now openly confirmed.
The controversial influencers Andrew and Tristan Tate will remain in federal custody as they fight extradition to England. The brothers were arrested in Miami this weekend and face dozens of new rape and sex trafficking charges in the UK. Speaking to reporters, their lawyer insisted the brothers are innocent and called the allegations against them politically motivated and, quote, garbage. The dual U.S. and U.K. citizens are prominent figures in the so-called manosphere, where they promote their own brand of hypermasculinity and misogynistic views. The judge set another court hearing for next Monday.
Cooling failures, water failures, a confrontation between detainees and staff in recent months, collapsed ceilings in the rooms where prisoners are supposed to meet their own lawyers. This is no longer a story about one influencer complaining behind bars. This is turning into a story about what is happening to over 1,400 people inside one American federal facility, and Andrew Tate just accidentally turned the world spotlight onto all of it. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes you're going to hear exactly what he says is happening in that cell, exactly how the government answered it, why a hearing that was supposed to decide his freedom suddenly vanished off the calendar, and why the final decision in this entire case may not belong to a judge at all. Let's go back to how this started.
Mr. Tate, would you mind signing?
Hey, Tate.
Come back, come back. Oh, shit. No. Come over here by me. Let's go.
July 18th, Miami. Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan were arrested by U.S. authorities not on American charges. On a request from the United Kingdom, the brothers hold dual U.S. and British citizenship, and Britain wants them back between them. They face a combined total of 59 criminal charges, including rape and sex trafficking. British prosecutors announced new charges the day after the arrest, tied to 4 alleged victims over a period stretching from 2010 to 2017. Andrew Tate also faces charges connected to indecent images of a child and extreme pornography. Both brothers deny everything, every charge, every allegation. They have denied wrongdoing consistently in every country for years. But
who defend a man who defends men all around the world.
And that is what the UK looks like now. It is a fallen regime. It is a despotic state. It is a state that hates men, that hates Christianity, that hates masculinity, and that hates Andrew and Tristan Tate. If we lose, and if this judge says, look, despite the compelling arguments, despite what you presented in front of me today, I'm still going to rule against you, then we will go straight to President Trump's office. We will go straight to Marco Rubio, because Andrew and Tristan Tate or any other American citizen cannot get extradited without the Secretary of State's signature.
46, 47, 48, 49, 23, 24, 25, 26, 23. Free top team! Free top team! Free top team! Free top team! Let's go!
Andrew Tate is not, as far as I'm aware, he hasn't been proven guilty.
Denial does not open a cell door, and 2 days after that arrest, they made a brief court appearance and then disappeared into the Federal Detention Center in Miami. They have been there ever since. Think about what that means for a man whose entire brand was built on freedom, on movement, on the idea that he could not be contained by any system, any government, any country. A man who, after the last U.S. presidential election, publicly declared that the Tates would be free. He is now in a special housing unit, separated from the general population, and the fight over what is happening inside that unit has become the loudest part of this entire case. Here's the detail that turned this into a global story. Andrew Tate's account on X did not go quiet. While sitting in federal detention, posts kept appearing, and those posts were not motivational content. They were descriptions of his conditions, and they got darker with every passing week. He has said he was forced to drink unclean water that made him sick. He described persistent stomach problems, claiming his only water source was shower water from a faucet he called brown and filthy. He described nights broken by screaming from inmates in neighboring cells, not occasional noise. Screaming. He said he was denied his daily hour of exercise, the basic movement time that every federal inmate handbook says a prisoner is entitled to. And then, on July 28th, came the line that spread across the internet within hours. 9 words, a question, not a complaint. Where are the rights of American citizens? That single sentence did something the legal filings never could. It reframed the entire story, because suddenly this was not only about a man accused of horrific crimes. It was about whether an American citizen, any American citizen accused of anything, can be held in conditions like that before a court has decided a single thing. His lawyers backed the claims up with specifics that landed hard. They stated the brothers' beds are shorter than the men are tall, no pillows. And most damaging of all, they said the brothers were given no time out of their cells for 11 of their first 15 days inside. 11 days out of 15, locked down. Now hold that number in your head, because the government is about to dispute it directly. But before that, there's a question you have probably already asked yourself, and it is the question reporters asked too. He is in federal detention, in a special housing unit, cut off from the general population, so how are messages appearing on his account in his voice, describing what happened to him the night before? On July 27th, reporters put that question directly to defense lawyer Joseph McBride. He did not answer it. He said how his client gets his message out into the world is something for their team to discuss. That is not a denial. That is a door quietly closing, and it opens up a genuinely unanswered question that hangs over this entire story. Is someone relaying his words from legal visits? Is family posting on his behalf? Is something happening that the Bureau of Prisons does not know about? Nobody outside that legal team has given a clear answer, and the silence itself has become part of the controversy. Because here's the uncomfortable reality. If a man in solitary confinement can maintain a live presence on a global platform, that is either a legal workaround his lawyers are entitled to use or a security question the Bureau of Prisons is going to have to explain. Neither answer is comfortable for anyone involved. On August 10th, the United States Attorney's Office in Miami filed its response. And it was blunt. Prosecutors said the Tates are being held in the special housing unit for their own safety, separated from other inmates because of who they are and what they are accused of. Then came the sentence that made headlines around the world. Prosecutors wrote that while the facility is not a Marriott, the conditions of confinement are reasonable, constitutional, and within the Bureau of Prisons' discretion. Read that again. The government did not argue the place is pleasant. It argued the place is legal. Prosecutors went further and directly contradicted the 11-day claim. They said the brothers were let out of their cells for hours on an almost daily basis for recreation and for meetings with their lawyers. They said the brothers have adequate sleeping arrangements, adequate food, access to water, and the ability to request extra supplies. So now you have two completely opposed accounts of the same 15 days in the same building. One side says 11 days locked in a cell with brown water. The other says hours out almost every day, with everything he needed available on request. They cannot both be true, and a federal judge is going to have to decide which one is closer to reality. But here's what makes this story bigger than Andrew Tate, and this is the part most coverage skipped. Journalists did not stop at the competing filings. They went and looked at the Federal Detention Center Miami as an institution, and the Bureau of Prisons confirmed things on the record. The facility has suffered from cooling problems. In Miami in summer, it has suffered from water problems, and there was a confrontation between detainees and staff in recent months. The Bureau confirmed a water pressure failure on July 1st, saying it was resolved the following day, and that bottled water was provided to inmates during the outage. But a woman named Annette Youssette Dumont, whose husband was held at that same facility in July while facing deportation proceedings, described that same failure differently. She said her husband was given a single bottle of water to last 24 hours. One bottle in a Miami summer with cooling problems in the building. Then there's Paul Petruzzi, a criminal defense lawyer, who currently has 5 clients detained inside that facility. He said the Bureau is not committing enough resources to maintain the building. He described rooms meant for attorney meetings that could not be used because soaked ceilings had collapsed. The Bureau's response confirmed water damage in 2 legal visit rooms, said repairs were underway, and stated 4 rooms remained available. Look at what that means. The government's own answer confirms ceilings did come down in the rooms where prisoners meet the lawyers defending them. And here's the number that reframes everything. The Federal Detention Center Miami holds around 1,430 people. More than 450 of them are immigrants held while deportation proceedings play out. So when Andrew Tate describes what is happening inside that building, he is not only describing his own situation. Whether he intended it or not, he has dragged 1,400 other stories into the light, people with no platform, no legal team on retainer, and no global audience waiting on their next post. That is why this story stopped being an influencer story and became a national one. There's another layer to this, and it is genuinely grim. Defense lawyer Joseph McBride told reporters that as accused sex offenders, the brothers have a target on their backs inside that prison. He went further, saying that the public is effectively greenlighting for them to be killed in jail. That is the defense's justification for why the conditions are so restrictive, and it collides directly with their own complaint. Because the special housing unit is the very thing keeping them separated from a general population. Their lawyer says wants them dead. Prosecutors are making almost the same point from the opposite direction. They say the isolation exists for the brothers' protection. So the isolation Tate describes as punishment. The government describes as protection, and the lawyers arguing it is unbearable are the same lawyers arguing their clients would be in mortal danger anywhere else in that building. That contradiction is going to be tested in open court, and soon here's where the timeline gets tense. A hearing was set for August 13th. It was going to be the moment. U.S. Magistrate Judge Lauren Lewis was finally going to question both sides directly and decide whether the brothers stay in that cell or walk out on bail while the extradition process grinds forward. It was expected to be the first time the Tates had left that detention center since their brief court appearance 2 days after arrest, and then days before it was due to happen, it was gone. The judge granted a defense request to move the hearing, the new date August 27th. The defense said they needed more time to respond to a government brief filed shortly before the original date, which means 2 more weeks inside, 2 more weeks in the special housing unit, 2 more weeks of the exact conditions they are fighting to escape, requested by their own legal team. That is either a calculated legal strategy or an enormous gamble. And we will find out which within days. The core legal problem for the Tates is brutal and simple. In international extradition cases, there's a strong presumption against bail. The default is that you stay locked up. Their lawyers acknowledge that presumption exists, but argue release can still be granted in special circumstances. Their argument is almost poetic in its logic. They say the brothers' extraordinary public visibility makes it nearly impossible for them to flee. 2 of the most recognizable faces on the planet, men who post their own locations publicly, cannot simply vanish. Their lawyers wrote that it would be extraordinarily difficult for either brother to travel undetected or avoid attention. They offered terms: surrender the passports, accept location monitoring. Prosecutors are unmoved. They call the brothers a flight risk and a danger to the community, pointing to the severity of the British charges: human trafficking, violent rapes and assaults against multiple alleged victims, and to allegations out of Romania that the Tates attempted to intimidate witnesses. The defense counters that the brothers proved they are not a flight risk by complying with every pretrial restriction in Romania for years. August 27th, that is when a judge finally weighs it. And now the part that turns this from a legal story into a political one. Andrew Tate spent years building connections inside American right-wing politics. After the last presidential election, he publicly declared the Tates would be free, an expectation that the new administration would lift him out of his legal troubles in Romania. The connections were real and documented. A live audio stream with Donald Trump Jr. in 2024 promoting a meme coin, a public welcome to the States from UFC boss Dana White when the brothers arrived. And in mid-July of this year, just days before the arrest, a trip to Washington, D.C., where they appeared in a photo with a sitting Republican congressman from Texas, and were spotted at a party hosted by a special envoy to the president. Days later, they were in handcuffs. A research director at Media Matters, Kayla Gogardi, put it plainly: the administration appears to be distancing itself now, and MAGA media has split over the Tates. That split is real. Some corners of the online right are treating this as political persecution. Andrew Tate himself has alleged he is a victim of exactly that. Others have gone silent, and silence in politics is its own answer. But here's the detail that could decide everything. If the Tate brothers exhaust every legal challenge available to them in the American court system, the final decision on whether they are handed over to Britain does not rest with a judge. It goes to the Secretary of State, a political appointee, a political decision. On one of the most politically charged cases in the world, that is the endgame nobody in either camp can control. Watch these dates: August 27th, the detention hearing, bail, or continued confinement. Mid-September, the deadline for the United Kingdom to deliver its evidence package to the State Department supporting the extradition request. And after that, a formal extradition hearing, which has not yet been scheduled. Their own defense motion concedes the brothers could spend months inside that Miami facility before any of this is resolved. Months. In a building the government describes as constitutionally acceptable and the Bureau of Prisons admits has had cooling failures, water failures, and collapsed ceilings. Meanwhile, the Romanian case has not gone away. Florida's Attorney General ordered a preliminary inquiry into the brothers the moment they landed on American soil. And in Britain, prosecutors are assembling the file that could bring them home in handcuffs. Andrew Tate built an empire on the idea that he could never be caged. Tonight, he is in a special housing unit in Miami, describing brown water and a bed too short for his body, while the United States government argues in writing that none of it is illegal. And 1,400 other people inside that same building wait for someone to notice them too. 9 days from now, a judge decides whether he walks out or stays in. This story is moving fast, and the next ruling could change everything overnight. Subscribe and turn on notifications right now, because when that courtroom door opens on August 27th, you're going to want to hear it here first.